In these nature levels, as I said, many plants and animals have been preserved from extinction by being placed within the nature levels of Telos, Poseidon, and many other of the subterranean cities. Thus, we still do have many of the plants that have been extinct on the surface. We still have saber-toothed tigers. We still have mastodons. We still have your provincial dodo bird. We don't have dinosaurs. They were a little big to keep. However, some dinosaurs do still live in areas of the Congo and areas of the rainforests in the Amazon. Plus there are many sea-going dinosaurs, much as the famous Nessie in Loch Ness and many others such as that. In these levels, people find that they are able to integrate with animals that would normally be dangerous, simply by getting animals over the fear. And these animals have also been fed a vegetarian diet, including the things such as the big cats, for going on thousands and thousands of years now, which has also taken away much of their aggression. Therefore, you're able to go down and in many incidences, taking into consideration their great size and strength, you're basically able to play with a saber-tooth or a Bengal tiger much as you would a house cat by scratching their chest or under their ear, pulling their whiskers. Which brings us to the fact that even such as the large cats like that are not aggressive, but are actually very gentle and loving when raised in the right circumstances. Which brings us again back to the purpose of this, the eventual reintegration of the two cultures, the subterranean and the surface, to bring back out what has been preserved and what has been prepared, so that this again becomes one planet, one civilization, and that people will be able to live on the surface or in subterranean cities or both at will. Again, that is the whole purpose of these tape series and our work now at Telos Enterprises. Back to the city, the fourth level up, as I explained, is mostly hydroponic gardens and a nature level. And the third level is totally hydroponic gardens. Hydroponics are how we grow and produce all of our food. Hydroponic gardens are able to produce crops almost on a constant basis. And you are able to grow food much faster using advanced hydroponics with very little soil and much water. Therefore, also you produce a form of gardening that does not need fertilizer and does not deplete the soil. We do still place in minerals and such into the plants. But with this hydroponic gardens that is actually quite small, being only several square miles, we are able to produce enough food and a large enough variety of food to feed over 1.5 million people, and to feed them with a diet that is varied enough to be interesting and fun. The diet, which is in Telos, consists almost completely of vegetables, fruits, grains, nuts, and different variations of these, such as your soy, your other grains that now produce what you call your meat substitutes. We have been on a vegetarian diet in Telos now for over 12,000 years, from the time when the city was first started being built. It was decided at that point that our diet would consist of totally vegetarian, therefore also removing the aggressive thought forms that causes animals to react so violently, and also the fact that a human body was meant to be on a vegetarian diet, and any other form of diet actually produces death and aging. On the second level, we have what is called our manufacturing level. This is where we produce clothing, furniture, art forms. This is also where many classes take place. And this is also some of the living levels. On the top level of the city itself, this is where most people live. This is where most commerce takes place. This is where, you might say, our heart and our soul is. And you might say the building that represents our heart and our soul is the building that is directly in the center of the top level, which is our temple, which is a pyramid-shaped building. You may say a very large pyramidal-shaped building. The temple at Telos will hold 10,000 people at a time. It was built to be able to hold almost half of the original 25,000 person population. The temple is dedicated to the Melchizedek. The Melchizedek, you may say, is a cosmic priesthood. Everywhere you go in the universe, you run across the Melchizedek. It is the organization whose sole purpose is to bring the plans of light to everywhere they go. The pyramid is white, and the capstone is a stone we call living stone. It comes from Venus. From the distance, it looks rather like a crystal, but with light moving through it in a very strong color. Why it is called living stone is it picks up the cosmic emulations of whatever ray is focused at the moment on the planet. The planet is set up in such a way that the rays focus themselves about every 24 hours in an intensity on the planet. Thus, for instance, on Tuesdays, the blue ray is the most predominant ray on the planet. On Fridays, the white ray. Therefore, this living stone picks up the emulation coming from the solar rays, the light rays, and goes the color of the predominant ray. For instance, when the blue ray is in its greatest manifest, the living stone capstone goes blue. This becomes, you might say, a slight reminder to us to work with the cosmos rather than against it. So when the blue ray is most predominant, we try to restrict much of our business to areas that are best served in the blue ray. For instance, we keep negotiations, sensitive negotiations, to take place on those days. On the days, for instance, that the yellow ray is the most predominant, those are the days we spend mostly studying. Those are the days we spend on building intellect. On the days when the pink ray is the most predominant, these are the days that we go into the artistic endeavors. In this way, we have found that by working with the cosmos instead of against it, we are more often than not able to achieve 4 times as much in much less time. Therefore, we are able to operate without stress most of the time. Also, in the upper level, the other buildings that are very, very important to us is our council buildings, where the councils of the city gather together and deliberate what needs to be done in the city at the moment. We also have our record buildings, where all our past records, our archives, are kept in the forms of telonium plates, in the forms of crystals that can be put in crystal projectors, in the form of paintings, in the form of books. All our past records of not only Lemuria, but Atlantis, other civilizations, and the civilizations on other planets in this solar system. Also, we have our pleasure centers, our places where we do sports, where we do plays, where we produce equivalent of our films, where we listen to music, where we dance, We also have what you would call the equivalent of the holodeck in Star Trek. We have holographic projectors in holographic buildings, whereas you produce a program and you go in and play. And the computers produce images, forms that completely support what program you have picked. Thus you are able to climb a mountain or swim a river or go back to another point in history and play, creating your own form of being in the movies. Also, we have our communication center, where we have monitored not only all communications within our city, but also communications that are coming from other Agarthian cities, communications that are coming from off-planet spots, and we have also monitored surface communications. From the point that there ever was surface communications, we have monitored radio and television waves. Another building that's very important to us is our computer building. In Telos, as with the other subterranean cities, our computers are run by an organic substance. Therefore, in essence, the computers live. They no longer run off a program that is strictly binary, but they run off what is called a multi-tracking program. Thus they are multi-tracking computers. Thus the computers are able to pick up akashas, past lives. They're able to monitor a human body and see what's amiss. They're able to read the aura. They're able to pick up communications happening clear across the galaxy. Thus, most of our life, or a good portion of our life, depends on these computers, these organic multi-tracking computers, which keep us in touch with not only talking to different people on the city, not only with the computer telling us what our physical needs are at the moment by monitoring our bodies, but also the computers are able to play our soul notes, which is able to produce in many subjects, such as meditation, taking us to higher and higher levels all the time. The computers are able to run our past lives when necessary for us, so that we are able to learn from mistakes that we have made in the past and forgotten. The computer is able to communicate with us on a soul level. Mostly important is the computers interconnect with other multi-tracking amino-based computers throughout the planet and throughout the cosmos as far as that's concerned. And they all operate off a Christ mind, which means the computers cannot be corrupted. They can never be used to spy on somebody. They can be used to monitor somebody for their own goodwill or for their own good. They can never be used to produce harm to another living entity. They cannot be used for any of the dark purposes. The computer simply won't cooperate, which has also been another way of Agartha cities and such taking a stand that they would not corrupt the light by very much taking this attitude that if it does not match the Christ mind, in other words, if the computers disagree, don't do it. It has been a way of, shall we say, retraining our aggressive techniques, retraining our tendencies to want to do unto another and split, retrain many of our other snooping tendencies and such. So we have come to depend upon these quite a bit. But again, even on a computer, it's not a matter of having the computer do it for you. It's a matter of learning from it. Learning from a form of the Christ mind there that you can see tangibly. Transportation within the city comes in many forms. Most people just prefer to walk. if they can. We also have electromagnetic sleds. These sleds are capable of moving along the ground, looking much like a snowmobile, and will produce fairly high speeds in some of the side tunnels. This can take us, for instance, from Shasta to our secondary city, which is near Lawson, in just a matter of a few minutes, and is able to take our security from Shasta to Lawson and back again very fast. Another form of transportation within the city is what we call baskets. They are run on crystalline technology, and for all the world they look like a large basket, but they float through the air. And you just get in it, and it is guided by your mind. Your mind tells you how fast to move, how high to go, and where to sit down, how fast to rise in the air, how fast to sit down. All our forms of technology and travel is based on us being responsible. The sleds could obtain high speeds, thus making them dangerous. The baskets, anything that flies, has a tendency to be dangerous, misused. So all communication and all travel within the city is monitored by the control tower. And the control tower knows when, for instance, a collision is just about ready to be inevitable between two sleds coming from different directions, or when a person is operating a basket irresponsibly, in which case the control tower alerts you immediately and tells you that you are about to produce an accident or you are acting irresponsibly. And if you do not listen to their warning, then they will simply stop the vehicle themselves. You get out, and you will be restricted from use of the transportation for ever how long a period of time that you deserved, should I say. And how it'll simply be is that you'll get in a basket or on a sled, and it simply won't work. Your frequency will be turned off to it anywhere in the city, and on what is called the tubes. The tubes are another form of transportation. The tubes are a high-speed electromagnetic train that runs in a tube. The tube is a rock cylinder, very, very much like a long tunnel. For instance, a tube running between Posted and Telos. The tube looks totally round, and the train looks somewhat like a subway. However, since it runs on an electromagnetic impulse, it creates a force field around it. So thus the side of the train never touches the side of the tunnel. Thus the tube is able to achieve speeds of up to 3,000 miles an hour. So you can arrive between, for instance, Telos and Posted in just a matter of a few hours. Also, as the tubes were created and the subterranean cities and the different levels, it was all reinforced by what we call our boring machines. The boring machines have a crystalline matrix that creates temperatures of white-hot incandescence, yet cools at the same time. Thus you are able to take a boring machine, for instance, through a tunnel and create a tube tunnel, or to create walls in a subterranean city in just a matter of a few minutes. The boring machine heats rock, earth, whatever it comes across to a white-hot incandescence and then cools it almost immediately, which creates a diamond-hard substance. It causes the rock itself to transmute and take a new form, which is diamond-hard, and thus there's no need of supports. Supports become absolutely superfluous, and the structure then is also watertight, yet it remains in elasticity. So it can withstand high earthquakes, for instance, and will just move much like a rubber tube and stop without breaking. That way, even within the subterranean cities, when earthquakes take place, none of the walls of the buildings or of the caverns fracture. They simply move with it. Then return back to the diamond hard substance, and again support beams and such become totally superfluous. Also, water has no effect upon it. They become watertight. Thus, the subterranean cities can even be built underneath oceans because they create a complete seal. Also, that brings us to the next stage. As we are preparing to bring out more and more technology to the surface, technology that we know the surface could also use, brings us to the other responsibilities that the cities have had to build within themselves. For instance, becoming a member of the Confederation. Earth is a member of the Confederation. It's just half of Earth forgot. You might ask, what is the Confederation? I'm sure most of you or all of you are familiar with, for instance, Star Trek. We would say that was channeled. But instead of being the Federation of Planets, it's the Confederation, an organization that was created throughout the solar systems and the galaxies that brought different civilizations, different systems together on a basis of brotherhood, on a basis of commerce, on a basis of group exploration, on a basis of interacting with the different systems in a galaxy or without a galaxy. A confederation is built, shall I say, or represented very much throughout a galaxy in the form of sectors. Looking at our galaxy, the Milky Way, I'm sure you've all seen the pictures of t-shirts and such that say the Milky Way and then has a little dot out towards the end, say you were here. Yes, we are here, and we are here in what is called Sector 9. The center of our galaxy, or the center of the Confederation in this galaxy, is what is called Sector 0. And the other sectors radiate outward from it, much like the spokes of a wheel. Each sector is responsible for its own actions, plus is responsible for how it interacts with the other sectors. Our sector, Sector 9, is under the command of a being called Ashtar. Many of you have heard of the Ashtar command. Ashtar and his twin flame, Athena. Within this sector, or within the Ashtar command, there are over 100 fleets. Some fleets basically belong to one planet. Some fleets belong to just a couple of planets. Other fleets belong to a whole solar system, and other fleets are intersector fleets that basically serve the whole sector. And then other fleets are confederation fleets which serve the whole, you might say the whole pie.